Hello and welcome to the first episode of PMA Race of the Day after round one in Australia. On today's agenda, we will be talking about the pre-season and how it went for both sessions, respectively, at Magny Course and at Qatar. And then on to the next, we were talking about the F2 in Australia and what happened there. Same with the F1, and then talking about the next race in Russia and Winter Park for F2 and F1. Starting with preseason testing. So this was an opportunity for everyone to get used to their new teams, see how the PMA runs if they are new to the server, and just in general what we do. And so they were both very successful sessions. Magny Cause, what people were able to learn and see if they would need to follow Apex, how it worked and how the tracks were, the conditions, and everything else. And so, while there were some game bugs, it was overall a pretty successful session in Magny Cause. But Qatar was even better. And so, me and Sen and Stefan were all there. And so it was very productive, more productive than Magny Cause. Sen, what do you think of the Qatar session as you were there?
Personally, the guitar session was very good because we got to test out our new tactics for the upcoming season with drivers such as Tristan, Broski, etc., etc. But in my opinion, the most important thing is building a connection with the drivers on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah. And I would like to add to that, considering Mercedes have also got a new driver lineup. Tayomo here is in his second season, but Stefan also here, also starting a new path with Mercedes, like Broski has with McLaren after leaving Alpine at the end of last season. But Stefan, what did you think of preseason at Qatar?
Well, in my opinion, preseason was pretty interesting. Got a lot of opportunities to get used to the new team. Got to test out a lot of tire wear strategies and all that in Qatar, and it was I'm not gonna say fun, but uh, it gained us a good amount of info.
Yeah, and I would agree. Um, So overall, preseason for F1 and F2 was very successful. The first session did have a few game bugs, but those were all figured out in time for session two and for the first race in Australia, which actually helps for team managers to be put to good use until Formula Apex fix the bug. Now moving on to F2 Australia. So we had quite an interesting one with Victor starting on pole position, but qualifying almost showed that it didn't even matter, as there were three red flags. One due to too many crashes, the second one due to half technical difficulties and half crashes, and the last one was technical difficulties. So it was quite a messy race, but then it brought more action, more drama, and more closer wheel to wheel racing. And so Sen was alongside me at that race. Sen, what did you make of it?
Personally, I was quite disappointed after the second and third like incident because McLaren Academy had P2 and P3 for a relatively new team. It's good because our experienced driver Nicholas was unable to attend, but we managed to get a podium spot at the end, P3. So we'll see what we can get.
Yeah. And I'd like to add on that as Mercedes owner, it was and owner of EX Autosport. It was originally P2. We probably could have been P1 if it wasn't for red flag incidents, but it's something you have to take on the chin. Hawk with a good debut race after originally retiring at the start of season one. when it was originally called a different name, the PMA. And now he's making a solid return back in F2 with a nice P4. Cree, on the other hand, you know, he was leading very well after the first two restarts, but you know, you have to live with it after the third one, and there was a huge incident which caused a three-place grid drop at the end of the race. So the goals of the teams, is to look at how to improve on it, and given the X Sport were the champions last season, it's definitely something that can be looked at. Pellissier, they had pole position for QC Victor. Wadan was unable to finish the race. But QC Victor still picked up Pellissier 2 points after they had a very successful second half of the season, which got them to P4 in the constructors last season for F2. But overall, the F2 in Australia was very dramatic, entertaining, and provided a lot of action for everyone. So now we're going to move on to the F1. And so this was chaos, but in a way, it was a lot cleaner than F2, with a new set of regulations that were published. So I will start here with saying, Mercedes P1, P4, very solid results. There was a little bit of incidents with the comms in the race, but strategies were very good. And I think I could say the same for most teams, really. BMW had to come back. Sloth was doing really well until a very unfortunate crash. Vortex had pitted on the first lap due to an issue, but climbed his way back to P9. So, and Williams, Rish, an F2 graduate, going to P4. So, but Sen, owner McLaren, how did you see it?
So, the race there, as McLaren are the champions currently, it wasn't a bad race. It was not a bad race to say the least. We got a second place finish and P7. It was a weakened team as Broski was unable to attend the session, but fair play to Stefan, who had over a 40-second lead over the rest of the pack. Tristan tried his best. He got a good result out of that, and fair play to our reserve driver, Fuker, who managed to get P7 for his first ever race.
Yeah. Yeah, and so now moving on to another batch of teams to mention. Ferrari, first of all, with Skoda and Mittens, who both, Skoda had quite a unfortunate start, but was able in the end to climb his way to a very impressive P5 finish. Mittens, on the other hand, got a podium for Ferrari, their first podium since PMA season 1. So it's been a while back since they last achieved something this good in the PMA. Under new ownership of Ecto Becto, and under new driver lineups, which have definitely helped to benefit them. But now moving on to Stefan here, your race winner. Stefan, what did you think of it as the race winner and the man who drove away by 40 seconds?
Well, personally, I would first like to point out the qualifying was pretty interesting because it was raining for most of qualifying. Well, it wasn't raining at the start of qualifying, but it was raining a lot before, so it was a wet track up until the very end where it was just dry enough that you could get in a lap on softs. And I nearly missed out on pole position to Tristan, which gave him the pole position point, but it didn't really matter in the end because I managed to beat him off the start and gain the large lead that was at 40 seconds because I was able to keep a good pace while being consistent while Tristan was pushing hard, trying to catch up, and was getting penalties. So I feel like that's the whole reason why I was able to get such a lead in the first place. Which also caused me to lap up to P5. Everyone up to P5.
Yeah,
It was.
indeed.
I
Yeah.
don't think you're gonna see any better performance from me.
Yeah. That is fair enough, and congratulations as well. Um,
Thank you.
well, thinking about your strategy, it was a hard to soft. Pitted, you did 22 laps on the hards, and then you pitted in. And it was a very strong 22 laps on the hards. It was only, the final 4 laps. You noticed yourself a drop in performance. Do you think your strategy was the perfect option for you?
For me, I feel like it was a good option because I have noticed that my tire wear is a good amount higher than other people's. So I decided I'll go on the hards since either way I'm gonna be on the hards, and then depending on how bad the tire wear gets, I'll decide if I pit earlier for mediums or if I keep going enough to justify the softs. And
Yeah.
in the end, I was able to drag out the hards long enough so that I didn't lose time and was able to go on the soft where I kept my lead for sure.
Yeah. Um, yes, and so that was Stefan. He started on the front row and was very, very close to pole position, which was achieved by McLaren's Tristan. And so it was a 20 car grid, pretty much, the highest the PMA has ever seen. And the start was definitely an interesting one for the man on the far right of me here, Tayomo, who went from P17 to end up finishing P4. Tayomo, what do you make of the race?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a very interesting race. I wasn't able to, I wasn't able to set a lap in qualifying, which definitely hindered my start, but I did actually get a very good start, and I think I was in the front for maybe just like a lap or two, but uh I I think everything that I did was good. I didn't keep it clean enough, but I mean at the end of the day, P4 from P17 still a great finish for me.
Yes. Regarding your strategy, started on softs, went on to the hards. You extended your soft stint little bit longer than Stefan did. Stefan did 8 laps. You did about 10 or 11. Do you think your strategy could have been altered in any way?
Um no, I think that the softs at the start were good for me because just so that I could get that extra boost that and just pull up to the front. Um and yeah, I held out those softs for as long as I could, and going to the hards is probably my best option. But yeah, like I said, if I feel like if I just kept it cleaner, I probably would have maybe finished on the podium. But yeah.
All right. So yes, Australia was very entertaining, especially for a first race of the season. Um, with a very good podium as well as Stefan, followed by Tristan, followed by Mittens. Mittens and Tristan had a sprint to the line. The gap was only a tenth of the second between the two by the end of the race, which was very entertaining as a race director. Now moving on, we've got round two in Sochi for F1 and F2. And so starting off with the F2 group, this could be a tough race for them. It's a tight track. It's probably the hardest track on their calendar now that they've already gone through one street circuit with tight walls. They've now got another circuit, which is in some parts even narrower. Um, Sen, as an F2 team owner, what do you see of it?
Uh, Personally, Sochi is one of those tracks, either you have a good day or you'll have an absolute nightmare. Last year, we were very fortunate. Nicholas clinched the win at the very last second. But it could go either way for us. We've got some good talent. Other teams got some good talents. Pelsier, EX Autosport, etc. It depends on the strategy on the day, and I believe whoever has the best tire compound timing will win this race.
Yeah. Indeed, and speaking as myself as EX also sport owner, the fact that we may have Hawk in the car again, or we have Raj Door making their debut. Cree, um, has never raced at this circuit under the Mercedes franchise, with the EX Autosport. But this can be a make or break track. We had Rish um, get a podium here last year. Um, and so that was the start of his good streak of results. But it could be a tough one for certain teams. Could see some stuff from Pellissier. They can, either make magic or it could be disaster for them or anyone. And so it will be a very interesting race indeed for the F2. Now, Stefan, what do you think of it for the F2 group?
Well, I don't know much about F2 because I was not able to attend the F2 race last season, but the way I see it, it's going to be a tough race. You should expect at least one DNF minimum. The track with very tight walls, if you turn in at the wrong time, if you brake at the wrong point, then you might as well go in the wall. Depends. And if you're just not feeling it that day, then you're gonna be seconds off the pace. That's just the kind of track that Sochi is. So it's gonna be tough, but it could
Yeah,
make for a very entertaining race.
yeah. And Toyoma, what would you see it for the F2 group? How would you see it for them?
Uh, yeah, I mean, like Stefan said, Sachi is just one of those tracks where you really have to be like laser focused on the race because there's like so many points where like there's like awkward braking points, there's a bunch of like curbs that you can hit. The track limits are weird. But yeah, I think that it really separates the like the good drivers from the great drivers, and I think that it will be I think that like the best drivers are gonna be fighting for the win, and yeah, I think it could cause some slip ups, and but yeah, I think it'll be entertaining.
Yes. Now moving on to the F1 group for this one. So should be a huge grid again, hopefully. And so last season, it was a very interesting race. The race win was taken by Happy last season with McLaren. So in terms of being the owner of the team that won here last time, how do you see it?
I mean, I would go fairly confident to this. I know my team. I know their abilities. I know we've lost Happy. Well, due to personal reasons, but I mean, I believe in my team that we even Sauber. It's going to be tough for them, but if we get a good strategy, we get less penalties than we did in Australia. We will generally do well and challenge for those podium spots.
Yes. Very well said indeed. Talking from another owner, from Mercedes and Williams, I've got my two drivers on the right of me here. It's definitely a very tight track. Um, there are some hitboxes which can cause incidents. Especially there's one notable one in sector one. But other than that, the rest aren't really noticeable. Very tight corners, and I believe it's going to make a very good race. Could also be a very disastrous race if people are not on the top of their game in terms of knowing when to turn, when to brake, and the rest of it. Okay, so now moving on to a track analysis presented by Stefan. Would you like to explain us a lap of Sochi?
I would. Okay, so we have an onboard here done by Triple. So starting at the start finish straight, obviously you need to get a good run out of turn 18, going around turn 1. That's where the DRS starts. And then down into turn 2, crucial to get your braking point right and your turn in. You can kind of you can cut the curb a lot on the inside, and then you can kind of put the curb between your axles if you're careful. Then going around turn 3, very carefully around here. There's a deadly hitbox on the exit of it. Down into turn 4, tight turn, crucial to get your braking point right. Turn 5 is one gear down. No, you throw it into the turn. Turn 6 is basically not there, and then turn 7 is flat if you take it right. Then turn 8, you can also take flat. Turn 9 is just the exit of turn 8. Turn 10, if you get a good exit around it, then you can have a good run down the straight of 11 and 12. And then braking into turn 13, round turn 14. Then the chicane of 15, 16. And then you have a small run down into turn 17 and 18, which is crucial to get right. And then, once you've done all that, you have completed a lap around Sochi.
Thank you, Stefan, for that track analysis. Now, as someone who was qualified in the top 5 here last season with Aston, would you want to see how you feel about it, and how you have done at the track in the past?
Well, as I said earlier, I didn't have any practice last season, so I myself am surprised looking back that I was able to qualify that high. Sochi is easy track to learn, but very, very difficult to master. Turn 2 especially is really hard to get, and getting turn 7 and 8 flat is something that takes you a while to get used to build up the courage to just keep it flat and get real up and personal with the wall on turn 7. But it will gain you a lot of time.
Yes. Now moving on to Tayomo. You have raced here in the past. In PMA season 1, you achieved a P4, and then in PMA season 2, it was a top 6 finish, if I'm not mistaken. But how do you see the track as another one of the drivers?
Yeah, I mean, Sachi's it's never been like my best track. And like I've always had like I mean I've never really felt good on the track, but I mean yeah, because you know, it just has a bunch of it's just a very awkward track to drive if you don't have much practice in. Um but yeah, I mean that really just means that like next time I'm just gonna have to practice more. But but yeah, it the track it's a very challenging track mainly just because well one because of the curbs because I mean you can flip really easily or spin out some hitboxes too. But mainly it's just like it's a really awkward track. But I mean, yeah, other than that, it's just you gotta practice more for this one.
Yeah. Thank you, Tayomo, and thank you to the three of you for sitting alongside me today for the first episode of Race of the Day. We will be back next week after Russia to analyze how the F2 was, the F1, and also looking ahead to Japan. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.